So welcome back to Sarver's RC. Today we got the Traxxas Maxx back out for some upgrades. We're going to be doing the billet aluminum shock caps, spring retainers, and we're also going to switch up the spring rate. So what we're going to do is we'll work on the back shocks first because we're going to move the rear springs and move those to the front and put a stiffer spring in the back. So it just makes sense to start with the rear. So most of the tools needed for the shock upgrades at least is a 2mm. So these are 2mm here. We're going to try to get away with just removing the top and pulling the spring and retainers with the lower mount still attached. So go ahead and get started on that. So and I'll go ahead and throw some still images up of the part numbers for these. For these, so that way if you're interested you could order those. Come in different colors. I chose the green to kind of contrast the blue shock bodies. So I believe they come in red, orange, blue, green. So you have plenty of options there. So that's just going to pop out. Unlike the XRT, there's not a retainer pin or anything that you got to push out from the back side. So just remove your 2mm. The shock will release from the upper mount. And then we will go ahead and get started with pulling the cap. Thread the retainer down just so you can get a grip on the upper cap. Sometimes it helps also if you stick a Allen wrench through it. There you go, those are going to release. So sometimes the bleeder will get stuck in the cap head. If not, it'll stay on the spring. So go ahead and, if you can, I like to use a rag. Sometimes it'll stay upright like that. Go ahead and grab a rag just in case. All right, so next up you're going to be unthreading the retainers. For those of you that want to change fluid weights, now would be probably a good time to do that. I'm going to stick with the stock fluid. Of course, I can't get these retainers unthreaded. So spring retainers removed. Go ahead and pull this spring. You're going to want to set the rear springs aside because we're going to be reusing them on the front. Unfortunately, I got to fish this out. Go ahead and Set that over here. Go ahead and open up our new rear springs. Alright, so we'll be putting these on the rear, as well as going ahead and opening up our retainers. You will thread these down. We'll go ahead and open up our caps. So on the caps, it is aluminum to aluminum, so if you want, you could run some thread locker on there. I personally want to try this setup out and then decide if I want to change shock fluid. The springs may be more than enough. Honestly, the truck runs really good, handles really good, jumps pretty good. Just a little bit of bottoming, so I figured if I stiffened up the rear, and what I read online was that the rear spring rates were already stiffer, so it was best to move the rear springs to the front and then order the stiffer for the back. So I'm not going to run thread locker on this. I'm just going to thread these down and kind of like to rub a little bit of the excess fluid on the threads just for lubrication. You'll have a little bit of fluid that purges out of the hole, which is normal. Just go ahead and wipe that excess fluid off. You're gonna get this back up into the perch. Like so. So it is only threaded on the back half. So once you get that through, I like to just catch the couple first threads by hand. Then again, you could use your driver on the lowest setting with your clutch adjusted all the way down. And then I like to still run the torquing by hand just to get the last couple turns. So that's fully seated. And there you have it. So there's one new spring, green spring retainer and green cap. So we're going to go ahead and repeat the process. I'll time lapse that and then show you when it's all complete. Okay, so there you have it, all switched out and complete. I will say one thing I found during the install and the time lapse was if you're running the plastic ones all the way down to be able to grasp the shock body by hand and take the cap off, they tend to get rammed down on those bottom threads and are a pain to get off. So if you have a shock clamp tool, if you already got them stuck, that'll help you get it off. Just aluminum shock bodies obviously don't want to mar the finish, so put a rag around it, grip it. Once I switched to the fronts, I just started with leaving the retainers where they were, put a rag around the shock body, grabbed it with the clamp. Shock cap came off easy and way quicker. So again, I apologize. I know it was a time lapse anyway, so it'll still be short, but definitely had to sit there and mess with those for a bit. So now all aluminum, keep your shock caps from pulling off, not to mention just an aesthetic, looks good upgrade. Next upgrades that we have for the Max are the hot racing chassis brace, as well as the Traxxas green 17mm hubs. So instead of running this 5mm shaft with this blue O-ring, you'll be able to have aluminum wheel hexes with the stub, and that'll just keep your wheel options open too instead of running these plastic adapters. Surprisingly, it was more expensive to order just green hexes with a green nut for the 5mm axle than it was just to order this whole stud kit. So next up, when that comes in, we'll be installing those and see how this truck runs. So I'm excited to get this one back out. This is probably one of my favorite trucks to run. Just ton of torque, a lot of fun, jumps well, and you could just beat it up, and at least so far I haven't had anything break. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll put still images, like I said, of the part numbers, so that way if you want to do this upgrade, you can do that. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I posted a short, as well as I will have an unboxing video coming of an Amazon car that's been all over the internet, and if I can hit 1,000 subscribers, I will give one of those cars away. So any support you can give me may get you a free car. So again, thank you.